YouTube, what's up? I am not doing a weed review today. I want to talk about the law that pertains to weed that we love so much. But I will say, without actually reviewing it, y'all need to go get this. It's that new drop from Cookies, that fried bananas. If you find this in your town, wherever you might be, give it a try and drop in the comments. Was it as bomb as it really looked in other states? Because I seen the drops in Michigan, I seen them in Colorado, and they all look crazy. Even in places like New Mexico, But the California one was amazing. So this fried bananas do not sleep, whether they got a pre-roll, whether they got the eighth, no matter what format you find this in, smalls, regular size. I haven't seen no smalls in this, but grab this. It's that fried bananas by Cookies. You do not want to miss that. So with that out of the way, what's up with Jay Diggs, man? Where Jay Diggs at? Well, he in county fighting for his life, probably soon to be the pen, once again. And to me, that's many, because how do we have in 2025, in the big 25, right? How the motherfuck do we have somebody fighting a life sentence over some weed? Now, I've heard some things in regard to some domestic issue with some broad. I heard she ratted. I heard she didn't go to the police. I've heard different things, so I'm not going to speak on that. But one thing I will say and briefly speak on is, why the fuck do we have anybody getting a life sentence or anything that says life sentence in relation to weed? Especially THCA. Come on, bro. We got people making multi-million empires off weed. And then you got one man possibly having to have his whole life thrown away over some weed. Like, we need to fix these laws. I agree that people should do shit by the law, but the laws are so fucking backwards, man. It's insanity. It is complete insanity. And it's got to change. It's really got to change. It's complete hypocrisy. It seems like it's all good with the government until they can't make no money. You got all these other states, Michigan, Colorado, California. They're all getting with the program. Even in Nevada, in certain places, they're with the program, right? One of the most strictest states I can think of in history. And you got these backward states in the South that just cannot seem to treat weed like a normal substance, because you have so many more elements to weed than just getting high. You got the CBD element, which actually treats people and does not get people high. Yes, you do have to have THC in your system to activate it, but this is a non-psychoactive element to THC that purely medicates you. And nobody ever really talks about it. Some people talk about it, but everybody always focuses on people getting high. They don't focus on the medical aspect of this, and that when it first came to California, it was in medical form. It was not in recreational form. I almost want to say that we want to keep it illegal to a certain extent, because look at what the government does to shit once it gets legal. They poison it. And that's what's happening right out here in California. And pretty soon we will see weed in grocery stores when it gets all the way federally legal. Because I do believe the government's going to see what's going on in these states, the federal government, and they're going to say, well, we want a piece of that action as well. But let's talk about why they made it illegal in the first place. They didn't want to see that first hemp car made. You see that young man who was making fuel out of trash on some Back to the Future shit. Now they're coming after him as well. And they did the same thing with weed. That's why they demonized it and had reefer madness and all that, was because they knew that these new hemp cars were going to put the oil business in a real tricky spot. And that they were going to have some major competition, and they might even get put out of business. But what's funny to me is that they already switched over in the future to electric. I'm sure they could have found a way with the government's dirty hands to get their dirty fat fingers involved and inside a hemp car. They could have easily profited off it, but instead they went against it, demonized it. And yeah, we're at where we're at now. There's so many more things that hemp makes. Rope, clothes. There's just so many more things and so many more uses for weed besides just smoking it, getting high, or even just medicating. So there's a lot of aspects and a lot of reasons why you have other industries and companies trying to kind of crush the weed industry, except for now. So it's a crazy day we live in, man. I think America is mad hypocritical. Like I said, they allow on one side of the country for multi-dollar empires to exist, but yet in another side of the country, In the middle of the country, you got motherfucking people going to jail and fighting L's on their shit. It's unbelievable, bro. I can't even wrap my head around that. For weed, and not even real za, some THCA shit. So, we need to look into that one. We need to change the laws in them states that have that. You know, I don't even think, I be looking at the THCA states, just scratching my head, like, why can't they just get with the program and let the real shit come in? Why are they so scared of actual weed coming in? It is not what everybody says it is. You know, the reason why people think weed is so crazy strong and all this is because y'all don't ever smoke the real deal. Y'all stay smoking that bammer, bro. And I can't speak for every state, but a lot of these states I see, it's like they can't handle the real shit because they've been so used to smoking the bullshit. If they would just legalize and free the weed, maybe we wouldn't have this problem. But free J Diggs, man, before all this bullshit. Like I said, we shouldn't have nobody facing no kind of life sentence for weed in 2025. I don't give a fuck at what state. Change them laws then, bro. This is not back in the day. This is not 1978. Come on, man. That shit's infuriating. Free J Diggs, though. I don't know what's going to come. We're just going to have to keep our eyes on the case because, yeah, that's crazy. I haven't heard of somebody getting that long for weed in a very long time. And I understand he has a record. I understand all that. Plus the fact that he has his celebrity and he's known. You know, that shit will also come back to bite you in certain instances, as it is now for him. So, pray for J Diggs, man. Hopefully he gets out. You know, some are going to say, well, he should have followed the law. The law shouldn't even be that way, man. It shouldn't even be where the feds say it's one thing and the states say it's another. Them just disagreeing on that shows that there's some kind of discrepancy behind the scenes where they can't just make it all on the same page. Because a lot of damage gets done to people unnecessarily because of that shit not being on the same page. If it was all legal, then these other states wouldn't have to treat it like it's fucking another drug. You even got Donald Trump who put it down on the fucking, you know, on the scheduled drug list. So, I'm out this bitch. Like I said, free J Diggs for the 4th time. And, yeah, man, stop this bullshit with the crazy weed laws, man. Enough is enough.